If you had one piece of advice for your students about what they should focus on this year, what would that be?
If you're practicing with me, or if they're practicing with me and they have made that transition from seeing meditation as a tool to help them cope with life, and they see it now as what it actually is able to give them, and they've embarked on the path of a yogi, if you like, where they see their practice as a way of cultivating every aspect of their being, then I would just be encouraging them to take great interest, not in a prideful way, but a great interest in their own spiritual well-being now, because it's by doing that and reclaiming our spiritual well-being that the sort of willingness to endorse a way of life that wasn't serving us, we were able to do that because we lost a connection to something so important to us. So I would really encourage you to, not be shy about your commitment to it, because it's as you discover that connection within you, your ability to embrace the kind of changes that we're talking about here is going to be ignited. So I think, obviously as a meditation teacher, it's going to sound slightly biased, but without that level of spiritual inquiry and practice, because the inquiry itself isn't enough to galvanize change, we have to change ourselves. It's the practice that changes us and makes us ripe, not just for awakening, but it's going to make us right for the sort of changes that we need to make so that we can enter into this way of service and giving and sharing and putting back and contributing. So I would say as much space as you can open up now, particularly now we're being charged with the idea of consuming less, what to do with your time. What an extraordinary thing to do. To learn and to put energy into training and honing and refining the quality of your mind and the way that you function as a human being. What better thing to be doing at a time when we're asked to breathe out and take a step back and quieten down and make less of a noise and live more simply. It's perfect time for the yogi. It's the age of the yogi, if you like. If ever there was a time where this planet needed many beings walking upon it, treading lightly and living a spiritual life, this is the time. This is the time, because this is the time where it needs huge numbers of us to make that decision to step back and simplify things. So I would encourage everybody to jump right into it. And don't worry, because although you're going to be finding the complex life that you currently have is a hindrance to your practice, we're being asked to simplify that complex life. And as we simplify that complex life, a simpler life is going to support us on that journey. And it's exactly what's asked of us. It's like a perfect wish-fulfilling jewel.
I wanted to say a bit more about the difference of meditation as a tool and actually embodying and then living it as a dharma.
The way that meditation was brought to a mass audience over the last 20 years was very much pointing at the fact that we aren't coping very well with the levels of stress that we've got, and we need coping tools. So what made it popular, or what allowed it to be adopted by a large audience, was the fact it spoke to the stressful nature of their life and offered resolution to that. And that's where it's been extremely popular. But the Buddha wasn't really, he was offering us something significantly more than that. He was pointing to a mechanism by which we can discover our full potential. Now that is going to take more effort than, a well-organized 20-minute session at the end of a stressful day so that you can sleep nicely. It's a way of life. Back in his day, folk went forth and lived a life of spiritual practice and reflection. And this way of being, or this way of being a yogi or a renunciate, was a way of life for a whole section of society. Now, and this is the way I want to share meditation with people, so that they can see that it's a doorway to untapped potential. It's not just a way of working ourselves out of an unmanageable state. Having done that, that's just the tidying ourselves up at the beginning. What it then opens up to is an immense field of potential, which, as we let go our grasping for material progress, which has cost us so dearly and created so much damage and caused so much suffering, with all that energy and passion and enthusiasm that we put into that, if that starts to get directed towards a genuine sense of our own spiritual well-being and how to achieve it, there is a harmlessness about that, because you can't pursue your spiritual well-being and live harmfully. They won't work. You can't it's not an act of selfishness, even though it looks like it's focused on yourself. It's an act of selflessness, because what happens to you in the process of finding your own inner sense of completion and well-being or peace and happiness is you gradually in stages reduce the level of inconvenience you cause to the world around you as you tread lighter and you find more joy in life. So it's funny, because I've been a bit reticent about encouraging a lay audience to jump that completely into the path in the past, because I've been very aware of their commitments to our worldly life. But we are being asked to change that. So I feel less reticent now. I feel more willing to really encourage people to go for it. Because if ever there was a lifetime in which to jump upon that path and free yourself from suffering, this is the lifetime. And if ever there was a time within a lifetime to do it, this is the time. So if anyone has got anything like a spiritual aspiration or a longing to sort of unburden themselves of the things that vex them and reduce their levels of suffering and find ways to transform who and what they are as a human being, this is the time to give all of yourself to it. And as much as you possibly can, and be willing to give a lot of other things up so that you have the opportunity and the space, time and energy to do it. So yeah, now it's like green light. Now's the time. Don't sit there thinking, what, maybe later, towards the end of my life, I might do it. Do it now, right now, in this gap that's opening up. There isn't anything we could do with our life now that would be more beneficial to ourselves and others than that. There really isn't, unless we are one of those great contributors that have found ways to make big changes in the world. But we're going to do that as little people. Lots of little people doing little things together. And that's what meditation teaches us, the joy of being a little person rather than a great big person.